I love it when teenagers get chased by vines. It's funny. I also love shows like Stranger Things and decided to try this and then show you how I did it, even if it sucked, which luckily it came out okay. Our story begins with Cotton Bro on Pexels.com. This dude shoots awesome stuff and gives it away for free, so thanks to him, I have some greatness to work with. I took this video of teenagers running down a totally safe-looking tunnel, probably trying to catch... I don't know. It's just cool looking. So I brought it into Blender, which is free software you might have heard about, and figured out where I want to start my shot from. I loaded it into the compositor workspace, and I figured it would be cool to start at this point. So that's where I set my start point in, at frame 110. I set my out at frame 254, which gives me a 6-second shot at 24 frames per second. That's good enough for this. I rendered that out to a series of PNG files because that's what I did. It's good to do that, and it makes it easier to track, which is solving the camera so we can add in the vines later. I rendered it, and once it finished, I went into the Visual Effects workspace, VFX workspace, and loaded in the PNG sequence I just rendered. Then I hit Prefetch to load all these into RAM. That makes playback much nicer. Then I hit Detect Features. That gives me some of these yellow things. It's not a whole lot of yellow things, and some are in dumb places. It's looking for contrast, so sometimes you can write out PNG files with lots of contrast and hope for better results, but like, this is YouTube. It's one step up from TikTok, so who cares? I decided to add in some points manually in places that have high contrast and won't be obscured by our runners. Then I selected them all and tracked this thing forward. After adjusting the ones that fail and killing off the places where they stop working, I hit Solve Camera Motion and looked at my results. I got a solve error of 1.62, which usually really sucks. But again, you know, YouTube, I like solve errors well under 1, like 0.3 or so, and you should definitely try for that if you're doing this for real, but I thought this might work, so I went with it. Once I was happy, I hit Set Origin, and it gave me a box and a plane. The cool thing is that you still have the camera motion and can go in and align the camera and set the focal length. There's a cool program called F-Spy that allows you to really get in and get pretty accurate. And I'd used it in the Meat Monster video shown up here, but I just wanted to eyeball this one and see if it worked. So I scrubbed the timeline and yeah, whatever. It would probably be close enough with moving and undulating vines. I aligned the camera using the grid lines, and then extruded the walls up to build a place for the vines to grow and play while they chase their food down the hall. Next it was time to add in the vines. If you create a Bezier curve and then delete all the points, you can select the draw tool, set target to surface, and draw live on an object. This is cool to play with. I go into this deeply on Patreon if you want, with a whole video dedicated to it in the new version of Blender. Once I got some vines created, it was time to make the vines grow. I added a bevel to the curves, then keyframed the start and end mapping to make it appear to grow. Now I needed the lights, so I went in and I added them. You can go back to the tracking workspace and hit 3D markers to mesh. That will turn the markers into empties in your scene. Now, I found the ones that are tracking the light, and that told me where to put the first area light. So I added one and it worked, and then I duplicated it down the corridor. Next, I added a shader to the vines. I gave them a texture from AmbientTextures.com and used the displacement to make them look more irregular. No one will be scared of garden hoses chasing them, so I made them scarier with some displacement. Once I was happy with that, I rendered it out using a shadow catcher on the wall to get the shadows for compositing, and brought it back into Blender's compositor. I played with the nodes and lighting to get the look I wanted, and used foreground and background nodes to massage it. Then looked at it and realized I wanted more. I fired up Houdini, which is not a free software, and wrote out this file from Blender and brought it in as an alembic. The cool thing is that it comes in with all the correct transforms, luckily. Sometimes you have to manually rotate it, but this time I lucked out. I scattered some points on the object and connected them together with lines as they grow. Then once I got that, I smoothed it all out and played with the slime look. Once I was happy, I exported that alembic back into Blender, assigned a shader, and voila, that would look pretty cool. So this is all up on my Patreon if you want some step-by-step instruction. But here's the final. Not bad for a couple of hours of work and a lust for cool sci-fi horror films. This isn't my day job stuff, but it's fun to play with the organic stuff, and it's a nice break from the industrial stuff that I do day to day. So I hope this gives you guys some ideas, and at least you maybe picked up something. Thanks. See you in the next one. Bye.